edition of Ask Michael Ehline. This is where I teach people the law in an unorthodox manner by using examples that we see in the news, case law briefs, but it's all about exposing the Leviathan and its instrumentalities and taking back your rights. Know the law and mean to keep it well. Come here to learn from an expert to know your right. Make sure to like and subscribe. Make sure to save, because we never know when the thought police are going to take down this channel. Hey everybody, I'm attorney Michael Ehline. I'm not really dressed for the part today. I have to take my son to judo later, so I thought I would do a cool little show about conjugal visits. A lot of you guys are sending me clips about Felice Johnson, the booty warrior. And the other day there was an argument over who was the top booty warrior in prison. And another one of my clients, a former client of mine, said, hey, why don't you cover conjugal visits? Because I'll bet you there would be a lot less homosexuality and a lot less booty warriors in prison if men had access to conjugal visits. And so it got me thinking. And so I did a little bit of legal research. And so this is going to be a working video for me today. So I'm at work and I'm going to be playing some attorney reaction videos, working on some cases, then occasionally piping in and talking about what I think about the video. But before I start working, what I thought I would do is just explain to you. First of all, conjugal visit is a situation where, oh, hey, good seeing you, Jody Shiloh. Hey, let everybody know I'm online, Jody, because I'm starting early today because I have to take my son to judo tonight. So I figured even though I'm working, I'm going to try to do like the way I used to do it, where I'd sort of like sneak in a video show when no one's looking to try to cover something really interesting and give you guys an opportunity to congregate and chat. Hopefully we'll see what's the matter you as well. And so yeah, I don't really have a whole lot of time, but I'm going to try to cover what I know. So basically, when I first started practicing law, and even before that as a paralegal and as a law clerk, I used to make visits to California state penitentiaries on behalf of our clients who were seeking habeas corpus to get out of prison, people who were wrongfully accused. And several of them we got out based on new evidence, in particular DNA evidence. And many of these people were victims of, attacked by other inmates. And of course, they had been falsely imprisoned. By the time they got out, they thought that they were gay because they'd been in there since they were kids. And that's all they knew. And some of these guys had been there for 20 years, kind of like a Felice Johnson. And so one of my clients reached out, actually a former client, as well as one of my guests the other day, reached out and said, why don't you cover conjugal visits, Mike? Because you're covering the story of Lane Myers, how he's been separated from his family and friends, and you're talking about people who are being falsely imprisoned. Talk about how they're being denied the right to female companionship, and for women too, but it's mainly the men. There's more men incarcerated. So we're going to talk about conjugal visits. Assume since I'm a guy, I'm just going to talk about it from a guy's perspective, but this should be a pretty interesting show. So basically, conjugal visits are not considered civil rights in the United States or most international law. They're typically classified as a privilege subject to prison regs and discretion rather than a guaranteed entitlement, okay? So under the U.S. perspective, the U.S. Supreme Court has not recognized conjugal visits as a constitutional right. In Turner versus Safely, a 1987 case, the court upheld restrictions on inmate rights, including marriage and visitation, if they're reasonably related to a legitimate penal interest, security, resource, allocation. Lower courts have consistently ruled that denying conjugal visits doesn't violate the Eighth Amendment prohibitions on cruel and unusual punishment or due process, just so you guys know. Now, in the international context, some countries like Canada and some European nations do allow conjugal visits, but they're not a universal right either. They're also considered to be a privilege. The European Court of Human Rights has ruled that while family life is protected under Article 8 ECHR, conjugal visits can be restricted based on security or administrative needs. So there's a civil rights argument that I would make, which is I advocate for conjugal visits because I think that it supports family integrity, rehabilitation, and keeps you from being a booty warrior like Felice Johnson, right? And it has broad human rights context in line with the principles of natural law. And I've seen cases where families have fought for their family honor, where they had a great grandfather hung or something at the gallows in England. And ultimately, they got those people acquitted hundreds of years later to protect the family honor. So just because someone's in jail, it doesn't mean that they committed the crime. It just means they were found guilty by a jury. And so obviously, there are some cases where there's a smoking gun and they did it, and there's other cases where maybe not. And I've gotten people out of jail on habeas, and I know that they were innocent, and I knew they were innocent. And a lot of the jurors knew they were innocent, but they didn't know about jury nullification at the time. And so these people were wrongfully imprisoned, and it happens all the time. So because of that, I always weigh that. But courts still have not extended civil rights protections to include conjugal visits. They prioritize prison management over individual rights claims. Critics do note that access often depends on other factors like marital status or facility policies, which can seem arbitrary but don't always meet the legal threshold for a rights violation. Okay, so the current status in the U.S., especially California and Connecticut, is that they do offer conjugal visits. I think there's some other states too, but they have to be like low security. There has to be a good behavior element. And it has to basically reinforce their status as a privilege, not a right. But globally, the practices do vary. They're not a major legal system mandate. Pretty much anywhere is a civil right. And if you want me to dig into the specifics of the case law, I'll need more time for that. But what are the arguments that militate in favor of conjugal visits? Well, obviously, reduce sexual violence. That's a real problem with men. Men have higher testosterone than women. They're physically much stronger than women, as a general rule. That's why we laugh when we see people letting men compete in women's sports, because the weakest man can basically compete against and beat one of the strongest women. And that's the problem, is men are just naturally stronger. They have a larger bone structure. They're faster. They're quicker. They have faster reflexes, because throughout thousands of years, hundreds of thousands of years, it's been the male's job to protect the women and the children, and the women's job to basically provide comfort. And it's like a spiritual connection. Give me a bunch of ones if you agree. And so a man who's in prison just with a bunch of other men, he loses that familial love and connection and the blessings that only a woman can bring him. And I would imagine it's the same for a woman in prison. That's why they go for the stud guts. The women in prison go for the women that look most like the men, that grow facial hair, because they're trying to get that feeling of protection and the safety that a man can bring, even though obviously physically most women don't come anywhere near the strength of a man. It's called biology, which somebody needs to speak to one of our Supreme Court justices about, and the Democrats in California need to take a biology class. But anyways, we'll move past that really quickly. So basically, the idea behind conjugal visits is reduce sexual violence. Studies show that conjugal programs see fewer male prison RAPE cases. And also, especially when it comes to decreased sexual frustration, obviously, improve mental health. I mean, obviously, you guys that don't get action, even when you're free, a lot of you guys have mental health issues. You have self-confidence issues. You can't get a girl. It's a problem, right? And it also it reduces stress, anxiety. It maintains emotional bonds with your loved ones. It can lead to fewer violent outbursts or self-harm. People might want to hurt themselves if they're not getting a piece. Also, incentive for good behavior. Conjugal visits are often a privilege tied to good conduct, encouraging inmates to follow rules and avoid conflicts. Right? If you're going to get a piece of you're going to try to be nice, right? Oh man, I'm going to get some this weekend. It's like when you're in the Marine Corps and you get weekend liberty, right? Like you're at School of Infantry and you want to go into Oceanside and go to a strip club, man. You're going to be on your best behavior. You're going to make sure that barracks is squared away. And Marines are basically prisoners with guns, so I can totally relate, right? And it definitely can lead to strengthened family ties. It can help preserve relationships, give you a sense of purpose and hope. Strong family connections, typically like fatherless homes, the boys are way more violent, always as a general rule. And when you have strong family connections, you have less disruption and less criminality. So the same would apply to someone who's in prison, right? They're going to be less violative of the prison framework if they know that their woman's coming and they're going to get a piece of action, right? It also leads to lower recidivism and tension. By supporting emotional stability and rehabilitation, conjugal visits can reduce recidivism. Inmates with lower recidivism motives contribute to calmer prison atmosphere, and they're less likely to engage in riskier violent activities, like chasing around a man's butt, right? Like what Felice Johnson likes. And so there's data from jurisdictions like California and Mississippi showing the conjugal visits lower risk of inmate on inmate assaults, especially sexual assaults. And so it's all in all, it seems like a good idea to me. What do you guys think? By the way, I just let me thank my audience for showing up today. I'm kind of like a little off here. Let me just step over here to read the comments really quick. So Robert Stubblefield, good seeing you. Jody Shiloh, Kevin Bernarski. Oh man, I'm not seeing. I was hoping What's the Matter You would show up. I hope I didn't chase him away being too political, man, because he's like one of my best. He's like, honestly, I think he's probably my favorite mod, because the guy always speaks up and he always has something to say that is meaningful to the conversation. But hopefully he'll pop in. So let's. Hey Everett, good seeing you. I'm so happy that you're here. So first, I'm going to do a video by a guy who was a prisoner, and I'll pop in every once in a while. But the idea is that I'm going to be doing an attorney reaction. I have to get work done, so I'm working on files as we're doing this. But hopefully, we can have a meaningful, maybe hour or so, since I can't go live tonight, and you guys will like what I have to show you. Let's go.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. I hope you're doing all right out there. New viewers, hit that subscribe button, hit the like button. It always helps out a great deal.
Yeah, double tap.
Appreciate you. Everybody else, welcome back. Welcome back. Little video on the conjugal visits inside of the prison system. A lot of people have questions about the conjugal visits in New York. It's known as FRP, which is the Family Reunion Program. A conjugal visit is where you get to spend time with your loved one. It doesn't have to be. First, there's only conjugal visits in 4 states in the United States of America: New York, California, Washington, and Connecticut. Out of all the states in the country, those are the 4 states with conjugal visits: New York, California, Washington, and Connecticut. Thankfully, when I was locked up, I was locked up in New York. The federal system does not have conjugal visits. They don't have any at all.
Terrible.
When it comes to, I'm just going to refer to them as trailer visits, because that's what we call them. It's known as the FRP, the Family Reunion Program, as conjugal visits, or as trailer visits. And when we're in prison, we usually just refer to them as a trailer. We're going on a trailer visit. And as I said, it's not in the federal system at all. In order to participate in the trailer program, in the FRP program, you have to go through a pretty extensive amount. They don't just allow them. They don't allow anyone in there. So let me tell you some things that will disqualify you from the conjugal visits. If you have a kidnapping charge, you are not allowed inside ever to participate in conjugal visits. If you have any type of sex charge, rape, sexual assault, child molestation, sleeping with a minor, any type of charge of sexual orientation bars you from participating in the program. Any type of arson charge stops you from participating in the program. Any type of escape charge stops you from participating in the program, right? So they're not just going to allow anybody out there at all. If you're involved with the mental health department, they will have to make a decision on whether you are stable enough as well to participate in the program. So, I mean, those are some common sense things right there. Not to allow a kidnapper out there because they don't want anybody being taken hostage. Not to allow an arsonist out there because they don't want anyone setting anything on fire. Not to allow anyone with a sex charge out there because they don't want any visitor being sexually abused.
That's
and
right.
Not to allow anyone with an escape charge because they don't want anybody escaping.
Right.
There may also be a few other charges that are not accepted inside of the program. But those are the main ones. In order to participate in the program, you have to have 2 years without a disciplinary ticket in the prison system. That's 2 years without a ticket that resulted in keep lock time. I believe it was more than 15 days of keep lock time. So if you received a real minor ticket where you didn't receive more than 15 days keep lock time, you could still participate. But anything more than that, you would have to argue that issue because it could suspend you out of the program. So it was 2 years without any major disciplinary. So let's say you meet all the qualifications, right? You don't have any of those charges that can bar you from the program. You haven't received a misbehavior report of any significance within 2 years, right? Then you apply to be part of the program, to participate in the program. And when you apply to participate, it takes a long time for the approval to come back. I'm speaking about 1 year, right? Because that approval, in order to get that approval, the first thing that the facility does to the paperwork is you would write your counselor, you would ask for an FRP application, right? You would fill out the FRP application and it would go back to your counselor. Your counselor would then submit it to the FRP coordinator inside of the facility. Once the coordinator goes over it inside of the facility, it then gets sent to Albany, New York. Albany, New York is who monitors the prison system inside of New York. Then it sits up in Albany for a long time. There's the commissioner, there's the coordinator up in Albany. It sits up there for a long time while they go over everything. And then once they give you your approval, if you get a disapproval, it gets kicked back down that you weren't approved, and you have to then go through the whole process again, find out why you weren't approved, and so be it. But if it is approved, it comes back down to your counselor, and then eventually you will get your first date to participate in the program. The people you're allowed to go on a conjugal visit with. If you are legally married, you can go with your wife. Of course, they're going to check the paperwork of your spouse. They're going to look for birth certificates. They're going to check social security card. They're going to check marriage certificate. They're going to make sure that your marriage is legitimate. You know, they're not just going to just look at the piece of paper either. They're going to go to the state marriage records. They're going to look at the birth certificate. They're going to go to birth certificate records. They're going to make sure all the paperwork is legit before they just let this person come into prison with you. Okay? And you're allowed to go with your children as well. If you have a wife and you have children, and the children can go as well, and they will go through the same scrutiny. If you're not married and you want to participate with your family, you're allowed to go with your mother or your father together. You can go with your brothers and sisters. And I believe you can go.
So just to clarify, conjugal doesn't always mean sex, okay? It doesn't always mean sexual relations. It just means like a private hookup or meeting between people that you're close to, okay? So don't think that the prison system is condoning people to, get it on with their mom or their kids. That's not what this means.
With your grandparents, and I believe you can go with an aunt or an uncle. You're not allowed to go with any cousins. They don't allow any cousins. So I believe that's the extent of the family members that you're allowed to participate with. And each person will get run through the system completely to make sure that they're legitimate, to make sure that they are who they say they are, to make sure you guys are related, to make sure they have no warrants for their arrest.
So when he says run through, he doesn't mean in the Fleece Johnson manner. He just means checked out by the system like a background check. Okay, guys? Don't get any crazy ideas.
9 yards. Once everything is approved and you get your date, you get to spend about 2.5 days out there in the facility. So in other words, let's say you went out on a Monday morning at 9 o'clock, right? I'll tell you exactly how the process would go. Let's say I'm going out on a Monday morning, right? So they would come 2 days before the trailer visit. They're going to take a urine test from me, the prisoner. right? 2 days prior to the trailer. So in this instant, I would get a urine test on Friday because I was going out on Monday. If the urine test comes back clean, then you go out to the trailer. You're good. You go out on Monday morning, and you're usually in the trailer. As you see, there's a picture of it right there, what it looks like. You go out in the trailer on a Monday. You stay out there for the rest of all Monday. Let's say you get out there 9 in the morning. So you're out there all Monday. Then you're out there all Tuesday. And then you would come back Wednesday morning at about 9 o'clock in the morning. Right? So you're really getting about a true 48 hours, maybe a little more than 48 hours out there. You know, your family is the trailer visit, as you see from the picture, is very nice. It's like a modular home. They're kept super clean. They have porters that clean them in between the visits. You have a living room in there. You have a kitchen, a full kitchen with a stove. You have a living room with a couch, a television set. The floors are usually carpeted. You have, as I said, a full fridge. Your family member, your wife or your family brings in bags of groceries. They go shopping at the supermarket, and they can bring in all types of food. Of course, it's all searched before it comes in from the prison staff. They tell you what you're allowed and what you're not allowed to have. There's no alcohol allowed, of course. Certain foods aren't allowed, but they go food shopping. They bring in all the food. You put the food in the fridge. Full bathroom with a shower, bathtub. It's like it's an apartment. You're in an apartment. As far as the contact with the officers, there is no contact with the officers. What they do is they call you on the phone periodically throughout the day. This way you answer the phone and state your name and number. Hi, so-and-so, 96A, da-da-da. And the officer will tell you, please step to the door so I can verify you. And you go to the door and open the door, and the officer in the guard tower has a pair of binoculars, and he makes a visual on you, compares it to the picture that he has up there in the tower. Yes, that's so-and-so. Okay, thank you very much. And you hang up the phone. And that's how they do the prison count, because you have to be counted along with the prisoners inside of the prison. And so that's how it works. There's a play area in the yard for the children. If you have children that come in, they have, some places have swings and seesaws and, whatever it may be. They have barbecue pits out there. You're also allowed to intermingle with the other families that are also participating in the program. Because like when I was in Attica, there was 3 conjugal visit houses. So 3 families would go out at a time, I remember they used to cancel the visits when David Chapman, the guy who killed John Lennon, I was in Attica with him, and they wouldn't let anyone else out on the FRP program. He used to go out to the trailer visits, I believe, with his family. And when he went out, no one else was allowed to go out because they wanted to keep him protected. So he had his own time out there, go figure. But other than that, that's basically the way it worked. And so I would go. Oh, so you would take your urine test, and then 2 days before, and then the urine comes back clean. You go out there and you spend your time out there, and then when the trailer visit is over, you come back into the prison. They take another urine test. When you come back into the prison, search all of your property, and you go back into your cell. And you're allowed to participate. At that time, we were getting them every 45 days. You'd go on a trailer visit, on a conjugal visit, and then when you were done, you'd apply again right away, and then you would go every 45 days. The first one takes about a year to get, as I said, but after that, you can go every 45 days. Sometimes there was a point where guys were going every 30 days once in a while, Sometimes it's every 60 days. It depends how many people are participating in the program.
See, that's better than most married guys, right? I think most married guys don't even get it once a year, right? What do you guys think? Give me a bunch of ones if you think that in his prison, the prisoners got action more than the guys who are married. What do you think? A bunch of twos if you get it more than the prison guy.
Program, So I would go with my wife. I was married, and my wife would come in there, and we'd spend 3 days in there, together.
Kevin.
And of course, it's something to really look forward to. You know what I mean? And it keeps the guys in prison that participate. It keeps them living the right way because they don't want to lose those trailer visits. They don't want to upset their
Makes sense,
family
right?
either. They
Makes
want
sense.
it's such a relief to get
Not
out
going to
there.
violate the rules.
You think conjugal visits, and everyone thinks about the sex. Conjugal visit, you get to have sex. Of course, that's a big deal. You're getting to be intimate with your wife. You know what I mean? What's better than that? And sometimes we didn't even get to put the groceries away. She walked in the door with the groceries and the door got shut, and then you can't even wait 10 minutes, and that's what you spend 3 days doing.
Yeah.
Having sex, watching TV, cooking, having sex, watching TV, cooking, and so it's a relief. It's also a relief just to get out of the prison and get away from the other prisoners, and you don't have to hear them and listen to them. You don't have to hear the guards. You don't have to hear the gate slamming and the doors slamming. You don't have to lay in bed alone, And so there's many people that are against conjugal visits. There's a Senate bill right now called S2938. That's the bill in prison. S2938. It's a bill inside the Senate right now in the state of New York to end conjugal visits. They want to end conjugal visits. There's many people that don't feel a prisoner should have a right to spend time with his wife or have a right to spend time with his family, and so they're trying to end those visits. I don't know. I haven't really been following the bill lately, but I know it's in there. There have been just a few incidences where things went wrong out on the trailer visit. In the state of California, a guy recently killed his wife. He strangled his wife. This is just a couple of months ago. A man strangled his wife out there in a place called Mule Creek State Prison in California. And her name was Stephanie Bryson.
What do you guys think about that? Do you think that all the other prisoners should be punished collectively because one prisoner strangled his wife, and so all the other prisoners should be disallowed conjugal visits? What are your thoughts on that? Give me a bunch of ones if you think that prisoners should not be allowed to have conjugal visits if one of the prisoners violates the rules and murders his wife. And give me a bunch of twos if you think that the other prisoners who are not causing harm to their family members should still be allowed their visits. What do you guys think?
She was 62 years old, and her husband strangled her out there. I don't know much more about the incident. I know that they just came back. The medical examiner's office came back with the ruling of strangulation. I also know this guy was in prison for killing multiple people, 3-4 people. I don't know their whole history, but that's one incident. You know what I mean? And of course, a lot of people will take that one incident and use it to justify removing the program. There also has been an incident or two in New York. I know one of them was 30 years ago. But mostly it's always run smooth. I believe it's been a very beneficial thing. The criteria to participate is pretty strict. And, I went out there with a few wives. I was married and then ended up getting divorced. And then I remarried a woman that I knew from when I was pre-teenager, from when I was 12, 13 years old. I grew up with this woman, and then I was participating in the program with her. And then unfortunately I had lost her to blood cancer at the age of 28 years old. And then I married a third time, and so I participated in the program with my wives, and it was something that was I loved it. You know what I mean? But that is really how the family reunion program works. Like I said, it keeps a lot of guys in prison. It really gives them something to look forward to, and it also builds the family network. You know what I mean? It keeps the family together, especially for these prisoners that are going to be released back into society. It enables them to bond with their children. It enables them to have a relationship with their children. It enables them to maintain the relationship with their wife, which is something that's healthy. And if they're not married, it enables them to spend time with their parents and their grandparents and maintain that bond. You know what I mean? It gives the prisoner something to strive for and to work for. It's something that he's very grateful for. As far as the other side of the story, the flipping it and saying that, you don't believe a prisoner should be punished and he shouldn't be able to spend time with his family and it doesn't make sense. I don't know. I guess, I try and look at two sides of every story. I understand people saying that. I can understand that, you know what I mean? But prison is a punishment, you know what I mean? But it's also should be a place where we're trying to rehabilitate. You know what I mean? It should be a place where we're trying to create a better person and make a better person. And if treating them more humanely means allowing them participate in this program and treating them like a human, then we have more of a chance of releasing a human being back out into society instead of someone who's filled with such animosity. So that's the way I look at it. As far as what prisons have it inside of the state of New York, I believe that almost all maximum security prisons have it. Don't quote me on that. There may be one or two that don't have it, but I believe almost all maximum security prisons have it, and only a small handful of medium security prisons have the prison, but a few of them have it as well. And like I said, only 4 states inside of the country. And that's the trailer program in a nutshell. You know what I mean? That's the family reunion program, the conjugal visit program, and the trailer program in a nutshell. So I hope you learned a little something about it, and I answered a few questions. And if you have any other questions, you can.
All right. So what do you guys think so far? I mean, see, I thought that it was only allowed in minimum security prisons. You would think that max, those are the real violent offenders, and they don't want them in there. So it seems like him and I are a little bit off on our understanding of it, but he is an ex-con, so he probably knows more than I do. By the way, good seeing you, Kurt Bronson. So, hey, good seeing you, Pro Se America DLZ, out freaking standing. I'm glad I have you guys here today. Again, I went live today. I'm working today on some files, and I said, you know what? I'm just going to go live and cover what I can. I'm at my standing desk right now because my back's all screwed up with sciatica. So I'm standing at a desk working on some files, and I'm going to be covering why or why not should conjugal visits be allowed for prisoners. And now we're going to get into our favorite convict, and that is going to be Fleece Booty Man Johnson. So Fleece is the poster boy, in my opinion, for why conjugal visits should be allowed, because you become very violent and hostile, and then you want to get man's butt if you don't receive conjugal visits from your woman. And that's why so many people say that if you go to prison, you come out gay, right? Because you get so accustomed to having man's butt that's just what you prefer. I think you guys have seen that. There was a movie called American Me, where one of the actors, I think it was James Olmos or whatever, he was like portrayed a famous gangster, and he wanted backdoor action from his woman because he was so used to getting man's butt in prison. So anyways, we're going to cover a little bit more about Fleece Johnson, and I think he is a perfect argument for why we need to allow conjugal visits. And I want you guys to give me a bunch of ones if you agree after watching Fleece Booty Man Johnson as to why you think conjugal visits should be allowed. I do not have like an Ebonics translator, and he has a very deep Southern, I think, Georgia accent. So you're just going to have to do your best to understand what he's got to say. But I think he has a really good, he presents a very valid argument for why conjugal visits should be allowed in prisons. And I hope that you guys will show some sympathy for Fleece Booty Man Johnson as we get into the story. Let's go.
It's more important than WAP. Hey, man, let me talk to you. I heard you fought back up. When you trying to tell me something?
Oh, my God.
They gamble all day in prison.
Are they gambling their booty or they gambling money?
Spread it open. Make it wink. I'm going to tell you right now, I'm a freak. You can mean I ain't like it. You ain't like it.
That's recording. All right, let's get it. You ready?
Yeah, I'm ready, man.
Let's do it.
I got a question, though, first of all.
Yep.
Your name is
Jay.
Jay.
Yep.
All right. In this prison, booty was more important than food. Booty. Having some booty was more important than drinking water. I like booty. Man, I'm Fleece Johnson, a.k.a. Booty Warrior. I went to prison with 10 years and ended up doing 40. From 1970, well, my was 73 to 2015. I got into the frame of mind, I ain't never getting out. So I'm fine with that.
Fleece Johnson was young when he told us he liked booty. See how old he is now? He liked booty so much, he had to start giving up booty.
I went to prison as a child. You know, I growed up in prison at a time when I ain't even had a woman. Ain't never kissed a woman. But now I got to do 40 years in penitentiary and raise up. I ain't kissed a woman till I got out of prison.
Oh my God.
When I see one and it looks good to me, then I go see him. I say, "You come here." I say, "I'm telling you what, I like you. I want you. And we can do it the easy way or the hard way. Some of the choice is yours, right?" And it was always yes.
I was 14 in jail, turned 15, and I hit penitentiary, I turned 16. I couldn't even read or write. I taught myself how to read and write in prison. And at the time, Eddyville was considered the worstest prison in America when I went in there. They had so many murders and killings, and it was bizarre in there. So you're going to take a child and put him in a prison surrounded by serial killers, murderers, and expect me to not survive?
I'm reluctant to ask, but where does the nickname come from? Did you give yourself the nickname, or did?
No, my nickname from the hood is Little Panther. The Broody Water came from MSNBC. They did a documentary, and I was talking about how things were.
So for those of you just joining me, we're covering a story of probably a very misunderstood man, Fleece the Booty Warrior Johnson, and he did about 40 years in jail, and he's famous all over the internet for being the most famous booty warrior in prison. And my argument is had Fleece been allowed conjugal visits, he wouldn't have had to become a booty warrior, and he probably wouldn't have had to do the full 40. And so I'd like you to watch, and hopefully you can give me in the comments how you feel about the booty warrior, Fleece Johnson.
In the penitentiary. In our booty is more important than water. They took all my statements and turned them around to make it look like I just going through the prison and people.
So let's talk about that. Booty is more important than water, because I do remember that statement, and that is hands down the wildest I've ever heard in my life.
It's true. It's
booty.
true.
So booty is essential to survival.
Man, I'm telling you, man, what is it out here in the streets? How many people, even you, how many people can manage out here without sex? I mean, y'all go to work every day, y'all do your work, come home, y'all got a woman, I'll see you tomorrow night or whatever, but try to go out here a whole year without sex and tell me what's important. I'll tell you what's important. Booty is more important, even on the streets, than water. A lot of people would give their whole bank account for some booty. They eat booty, they lick booty.
So let me ask you.
Do I like booty? Yeah, I do. A lot.
Okay.
A whole lot.
Johnson even let the lockup crew know that when he was in his prime, they wouldn't be safe from his advances either.
If y'all had been in here back then, them days, and as much as I like booty, I probably felt one of y'all butts. And y'all was walking past me.
Well, let me push back on that though, because you did have another famous quote where you said, "You get this the easy way or the hard way."
And I told somebody that before. Come here, let me talk to you, because he owed me some money. Get him in debt, make him pay booty debts and stuff like that.
So it's booty debt?
It'll pay your debt. I wasn't no bad loan sharker. I helped a lot of people, but he offered his booty the first time. Do you want this? I said, do I want what? He paid his butt. I said, hold up. Look, man, I ain't with all that. And I want my money. You know, ain't no tragedy. I can get booty anywhere. Just give me my money, man. He didn't have it. And so somebody paid for him. Three months later, I saw him in the shower, and this is the first time I ever seen, him all the way naked. And his butt looked like he done got plumper. So I walked up to him and I told him, look, we can do this the easy way or the hard way. Which one?
So he already paid his debt. At this point, it's just you just have
this is like 3 months later. I just happened to see him in the shower naked, and I didn't think he was built like that all the way, big old guy. Boy, it was so juicy, man.
They got this thing where they save their pants their butt. It's a style. They call it some sort of gangster style. It's sexy to us.
So sag, I guess, is his language for sag, where people sag their pants down and they have their boxers showing. That is a sign that a man's butt is open for business in prison. And so when you see these young kids wearing their pants sagging down, a lot of people who are ex-cons look at that as meaning that they're either gay or that they have man butt available for pay. And so it's just a curiosity. I thought you might be interested in that.
Right? You sag your pants in here, man, somebody be up in your butt.
Hey, counselor, how you doing?
But it sounds like you had a situation where they did put up resistance.
They gonna always talk that crap about, look, man, I ain't like it and all that stuff. But you already know they are. They'll do it.
Don't people mess with the guards? Like, did y'all have any female guards in there, or was it just male guards?
Man, we had female guards in there, and the only way we get to turn them out is you gotta steal their walkie-talkie. Cause if you can steal that's a breach of security. That means they fire. If you catch them setting it down, you steal it, and she want it back, you gotta do something sexual. Man, that prison system in Kentucky is so bad. They took all the freak books out of prison. Said we can't even have pictures of ladies in panties coming through the mail. So what do you think a man gonna do in there? You got all these men. Now you can't even see a picture of a woman naked. You search the TV hoping you can see somebody show a little glimpse or something. But as the years go by, your sex drive that you had on the street, you still got in prison. And that don't go away. You get horny, and you'll masturbate. Then you got these little crazy girls that write you and talk all that sex stuff and keep you heated. And then next thing you know, you go in the shower and see somebody with a big butt. And you be like, damn, I know I'm tripping. No, you ain't tripping. That's booty. Booty, get that, nigga.
When you go to prison, the most important thing in your life is going to be booty.
Yeah, I better listen to
a man's butt. Booty, getting some booty is more important than eating food. It's more important than drinking water.
So are there any ex-cons in here who can verify in prison is getting booty or a man's butt more important than water or food? Give me a bunch of ones if getting booty is more important than water, a man's butt is more important than water, or give me a bunch of twos if water and food is more important than man's butt. I'd like to know what you guys have to think. What do you guys think? I'd like to see it in the comments, but let's get back into Felice Johnson, the booty warrior, and why I believe conjugal visits should be legalized to prevent booty warrior people like Felice Johnson from spending all their lives in prison due to the frustration of not getting some real booty from a woman.
Yeah, I was gonna say you was there for a long time. So did you have like the latest iPhones and technology? Because you was in there you've seen a lot.
They got a real good security system in prison. Every now and then we get cell phones in there, but somebody with a cell phone, that might happen every 5 or 6 years. Somebody end up with one, and soon they get it, them guards will be to get it. We had PlayStations, and we had a recycling plant in prison where they recycle CDs and stuff. And I had contact with somebody back there. He got a lot of sex DVDs. So I told him to put it in a garbage bag, put it in a slot burrow, put a rock in it. I'd take a stick with a little hook on it and reach down in that burrow and pull it up. And when I went in my cell, it was 25 sex triple X rated CD. Now, people that got PlayStation, I let them look at it. Don't you know, it was $150 a night to even use one of them.
Oh my God.
And don't you know, they was coming to me the next day crying. These inmates was crying. Hey, man, sell it to me, man. I'm in love with Lucy. I said, who the is Lucy? Oh, the girl on the, I said, damn, you done gave her a name? No, I ain't gonna sell it, man. Just, if you want to see Lucy again, give me another 150. You know what I'm saying? Prison is a freak house, and it's like a sane asylum.
Wow, pretty zesty conversation. We'll be right back.
What if I told you this could be you in a few months if you just locked in? Over just a couple of years, I've collaborated with some of the biggest brands in the world, flying across country, working with some of the top talent in all industries. First real I ever posted went for 1 million and consistently getting hundreds of thousands of views across all social platforms. And I did it all by myself. And you can do it too. A membership equipped with all tutorials on how to grow an audience, how to get clients, and how to make viral content. So let's stop procrastinating and let's get to it.
I done seen so much stuff in there, man.
What's the craziest thing you've seen? Now, okay, first, before I ask that question.
The craziest thing I seen was a person that had 2 booty holes. 2 of them. And one of them winked at me. And I like, it scared me.
Oh my God.
Now, do you guys believe that's true? I don't believe it's possible to have 2 booty holes. Does somebody know of a scientific condition that may make that possible?
You seen somebody with 2 booty holes,
and one of them winked at me and it scared me.
Let me guess, you saw them in the shower?
No, cause he lived across from me in the cell. I'm in my cell, he's in his, and somebody was asking him to show his butt for some food and stuff, right? So I happened to look back. I said, I want to see too. When he spread it was 2 booty holes. One of them open and winked.
Just for some food?
Man, yeah.
So let me ask you, okay, so you was in there for a long time, 40 years. So after a certain time, do you have to always show your dominance, or can you just do people just know, oh yeah, that's Fleece? Like, don't talk to Fleece.
People that is normally brutal get respect in there. But check this out, if you brutal, yeah, you're going to get respect from the inmate, but at the same time, being brutal means you got to go to the hole, you got to get in a lot of fights, risk picking up more time. Now, if you trying to get out of prison, then you like, hold up, man. If I kill him, I'm going to get a life sentence, more time. If I bust his head, I'm going to same thing. I ain't going to never get out. Well, you're going to have to decide to either go along with what they doing in there.
But how do you set your goals on getting out when every day is a struggle? Like you said, you can't get caught slipping.
Not care about it like I did. I stopped caring about getting out. I said if I keep caring about it, it's gonna just keep troubling me and it's gonna cause me stress. So you know what? I don't care if I ever get out.
You want to explain to me what you're doing here?
I came looking for booty. I came looking for man's butt.
A man's butt? Excuse me?
Oh, I know who you are, Chris Hansen. But see, I called you Chris Hansen.
They made these cartoons and stuff without my consent, man. They didn't have no consent for me to do none of that stuff. I talked the way that they talk and to take my story and change it to make it look like I'm the predator. A person that turned 16 in prison, how ridiculous it is to even think that somebody that young can go through a prison system and turn everybody out. Man, you got people in there that you can put in a boxing ring with Mike Tyson.
Ow! So you want to do it the hard way, huh? I got it for you hard. Don't drop the soap, Carl.
I know how they usually say prison, dropping the soap and everything like that. Now, I don't know, is that like a true thing? Do people do that in prison?
Ooh, get that, nigga. Man, if you fought in prison, yeah. You know how people out here show off they fought, they won't do a laugh. Do it in prison. I fought it by mistake in her and around a crowd of people. Everybody looked around and said, man, you hear that? Man, you see, if somebody talk to me toothless one. Ooh, boy, who's that calling my name? So now when somebody fought, like I fought it again, and when everybody looked at me, I looked at somebody else and man, God, boy, call me. You talking to me? And they would press you for that. Hey, man, let me talk to you. And you be like, what's up, doc? I heard you fought back up. You know, when you trying to tell me something?
If you fart, that mean, hey, I'm open.
Yeah, I'm open. Yeah, that's how they look at it. You open. You gonna have to talk to them. Tell them, look, man, I'm not open, man. I'm not like that, bro. I'm sorry, I fought it. And they're gonna look at you real hard like, whether they believe you or shouldn't believe you and all that old stuff, man. I'd be like, man, get on back.
Does anybody ever gamble? Like, is it regular activity in there?
They gamble all day in prison, every day.
Are they gambling their booty or they gambling money?
They gamble everything in prison. You know, I seen a person put his boy up for a pool. A pool is something that you draw 10 lines going this way, 10 going down, and then you fill the squares in. This is called a pool. Like you find 10 people, put your initial. So you put J here, Jada, somebody else will fill in David here, put D here, put whatever your sign or initial and fill it up. So I said, how much you pulling him off for? He said he's pulling him off for a box of cigarettes on a basketball game. You got 10 people put up a box of cigarettes, and whoever wins, they paid a box of cigarettes to get it.
To get the person.
Yeah, but the person that put him out on the pool, he gets 10 boxes of cigarettes.
Oh my God! See, y'all gambling people.
Yeah, man, we gamble. Everything was a game. We gamble off for Wheel of Fortune, Jeopardy. We gamble off for anything. Like it might be something on TV, and I holler down at you and say, "Hey, you watching that Wheel of Fortune? Who you think gonna win?" You pick one. I say, "You got 3 people. Somebody else want part of this? Let's put up a box of cigarettes, everybody." We put up a box of cigarettes. Whoever win at the end get the 2 boxes of cigarettes. I mean, we bet on everything, man. And I had poker games. I ran stores. The ones going to prison now, these little young ones with these little skinny shapes, built like a girl with all that dreadlocks and all that stuff all over. Oh, God. When they come in prison, them girls tell them strip off, squat, spread your and cough. As soon they squat and spread it, some of them silly girls will say, spread it open. Make it wink. And them inmates be looking over the wall. Oh, God, ain't got head. Man, look at that. And then you'll look back and stand up and say, hey, man, what's going on? Girls don't want to hear all that. They set that stuff up, man. And so now you're in the prison. Everybody done seen your booty. You got some of them gangsters coming in prison, try to take a shower with their underwears on. Man, take them off, let us see it. We won't see that thing, bro. They booties that like Serena's, bro. Like Serena Williams. At tennis players, they built like that in our man. They ain't got your gun. You ain't got your gun. You ain't got none of that. Okay, so what you gonna do? What you gonna do? You in a cell with somebody. These dudes been lifting weights and boxing and stuff for 18, 20 years. You fresh off the street, ain't had a fight since you was a child. Little skinny arms, ain't got no 6 packs or nothing. And they put you in a cell with one of these big old niggas, and they talking about, hey, I'm telling you right now, I'm a freak. Soon he said, you be like, booty, get that nigga. He said, look, I don't want to beat you up. I don't want to hurt you. I just want to love you. Now, can I get some love? You said, man, I ain't like it. You ain't like that. Get that nigga. He'll grab you, and you try to swing. He'll pin you down on the bed and show you you ain't got the strength that you can get out of this move. Look. I don't want to hurt you.
This story sounds a little personal.
Yeah, it is. I know where you're going with that too, nigga.
Somebody's going to have to give us some booty. And it's just that simple.
They put me in isolation for 12 years in the hole. Nobody ever spent 12 years in the hole. I broke that record. They put me in the dungeon for 2 weeks. Ain't nobody ever lived past 3 days in that, because it ain't got a bed or nothing. It just got mud in a lot of mud, about 8 feet of mud. Real slimy like quicksand. Let me tell you how nasty I was one time. They sent me to Easton. I've been hearing about Easton, say it's a bad prison, bad like Eddyville. So when I get down there, I say I ain't gonna I'm going back to Eddyville where I got my own single cell. I ain't gonna be double celling with no mother. So I went in the caseworker's office, and her husband, he runs the prison. She said, what you want? I said, I want to go back to Eddyville. She said, you got to be here 6 months before we can even consider. I said, look, I don't want to have to force my way back. She said, are you making a threat? I said, look, man, can you just send me back? She said, no. I jumped up on her desk, pulled my pants down, and shit right there on her desk. Reached down, grabbed some paper, wiped my butt, and threw it, and it stuck on her shirt. Make it wink. and say, call somebody. They took me back to Eddyville, butt naked, with chains all around my body. Set me on the doors, on the step of Eddyville, got in their van, and took off. And the lady in the guard tower called the warden. He came over. He had them locked up. He had them guards locked up. They can't do that.
Oh my God. So you just a nasty
A nasty black motherfucker. That's what I was. Well, every time a guard want to be mean or disrespectful.
So what do you guys think so far? Do you understand why I believe that it makes sense to allow conjugal visits for especially male prisoners so they don't assault or harm fellow male prisoners, and why I think it should be considered a civil right or at least cruel and unusual punishment? Because could you imagine the booty warrior, Fleece Johnson, coming after your man's butt when you just were forced to share a cell with him, or he started to like you or want you, and he told you we could do this the easy way or the hard way? How would you feel about that? Don't you think if he had the option of having a conjugal visit that Fleece would be less likely to come after the man's butt? What do you guys think? I'd like to hear in the comments how you feel about Fleece Booty Johnson and whether or not you think that he wouldn't have become the world's most famous booty warrior if he had been allowed conjugal visits. Put it in the comments. Let's hear it.
We throw a bucket of on them prison guards. When they run up to your cell, there's usually 13 of them. They got billy clubs, mace, gas, electric shields, and they would gang you, and you just one person. So I got tired of that. I said, next time they run up to my door, I got something for them. A bucket of a 3-gallon bucket of I threw on them for 6 years. Man, we had a while. I started a while in the penitentiary system. Sent them up out of it, and they quit. They quit their job. I cost these people. I went to federal court with Martha A. Fleetwood out of District of Columbia. They were sent to me by the Department of Justice in Washington, D.C. to represent me. We went in federal court in Paducah, Western District of Paducah. And we won a $200 million lawsuit against the state. That's for all the inmates. When I won that, they mad. Now you add that up to I'm the one that took a mop wrangle and beat the lecturer off its stand. It cost $650,000. I tore up all their toilets. Anytime you put me in a cell, I tear the toilet out of the floor and slam it. I tore up about 3,000-4,000 toilets. And everything, mattresses, everything. I tore doors off, steel doors. I would turn them up, make them have to cut the whole door off. I cost these people a lot of money. And then when I got to throwing duty on them, they ain't know what to do. Everybody say they gonna kill you. I say they got that to do. As far as I'm concerned, I'm already dead. You know, if I gotta live like this, something gonna have to happen. But they bring me into parole. I said, you know what? Let me get this stuff over with. I went in there and I cussed them out, kissed my ass, all that. And they gave me parole. So I'm trying to figure out why they give me parole after I cussed them out. It wasn't until I got out that I realized that they don't put a lot of stuff on the documentary. Called me a booty warrior, a whole bunch of stuff. So I said, oh, they gonna go like that. So what they was trying to do is set up a stage for me to get out on the street, somebody murder me. And not only that, but to rub it in their face when I got out. I had 7.5 years left on parole. I called 911, told them I won't go back to prison, give them the rest of that 7.5 years. I went back, got in some programs. In 1 year, I killed a 7.5 year sentence and came back out, not on parole. I got a choice. I can try to do 7.5 years on parole.
See, and this is similar to what I believe they tried to do with Carolina and Fort Worth. They tried to force her into this parole when she could have or probation, when she could have just stayed in jail for one more day. But they wanted to do this probation period of, I think it's a year or 2 years, where it basically prevents her from engaging in her First Amendment protected activities, to silence her. And so I think that's kind of what Booty Warrior Fleece Johnson's talking about. Do you guys know what I'm talking about? You know, or do you know what I'm saying? By the way, good seeing you, Wanda Mise. Good seeing you, John Cash, Josephine Piscoli, Stomper. Awesome seeing you guys here today. Super happy you joined me. I am working today, so I'm not able to really focus on the show as much. But hopefully you enjoy my idea that we should provide conjugal visits to especially male prisoners to prevent people from becoming booty warriors like Fleece the Booty Warrior Johnson.
Go back and get into programs, because we got programs in Kentucky prison system where if you do 6 months in the program, they'll knock a year off your sentence. I got in 5 programs and brought my sentence down.
So we got this last little game, man. The easy way or the hard way. I'm gonna name some names and you tell me if they was in your cell, would it have been the easy way or the hard way, man? Let's go Shannon Sharp.
Yeah, Shannon Sharp. I the one to do Club Che.
Yep.
I already know that nigga with them big old hips and shit. I already know he don't ever. See, you can usually tell gay people about their hairlines and shit. You know, they refuse to grow mustaches.
P. Diddy, if he in jail with you, is the easy way or the hard way?
It'd be easy because he'll give it up. He'll give it up. He'll ask me if I want something.
Okay, R. Kelly, easy way or the hard way?
R. Kelly, it'll be kind of hard way with him. Yeah, I know it. I get it. I end up getting it, but it'll be hard.
And the last one, what about T.D. Jakes?
But I don't swallow. That's what he said one time. That big fat mouth. They had one in prison like him. They called him Reverend Goodhead. He had the best head in prison, Reverend Goodhead. He was just like T.D. Jakes. That man could.
Oh my God.
I mean, that's how nasty they were.
So you 4-0, man. You 4-0 in jail, man. So look, I just want you to sign out. Tell them where they can find you at. What channels? What stuff you got up?
You can find me anywhere where they got booty.
Oh.
Okay, so hopefully you guys enjoyed that part of the show and you can understand why I'm advocating for conjugal visits for male prisoners. So hopefully you enjoyed Fleece the Booty Man Johnson and what he had to say. And let's see if I have anything else. Yes, I have. Now I've got an argument against conjugal visits, and then that'll be the end of my show for today. But this is an argument against conjugal visits, and this is 3 conjugal visits that turn deadly. So let's take a look and see like the other side, because as a lawyer, you should always be able to argue both sides, right? So let's listen in.
Serving 4 consecutive life sentences for cold-blooded executions, yet still being granted conjugal visits. It sounds like some kind of twisted fantasy, but this is actual real life. Society deemed that you're too dangerous to walk free, yet you're getting up to 40 hours of private time with your spouse behind closed doors on prison grounds. It may feel like a slap to the face of justice. And the problem is with this time, and multiple times apparently, that privilege cost another life. And I'm not kidding. It wasn't even the first time. A different woman had been killed during a conjugal visit at the same exact prison just months earlier. You cannot make this stuff up. I'm sure you guys have been following the story. It's been all over the internet. David Brinson, a man so dangerous that even horror movie villains can take notes, was somehow allowed to host his wife, Stephanie Daniels, in one of California's few conjugal visit units. Despite his violent history, the state of California handed him a golden ticket along with his wife. And the problem is that she did not make it out alive.
We found out Wednesday morning, November 13th. We got the phone call that she was found passed out and they weren't able to resuscitate her.
Did they say anything about being passed out? Did they say she'd hit her head or that she appeared to have a seizure or anything else that was informative other than just passed out?
No. When David called, he called me. He said when he woke up to go to the restroom, he found her passed out. When he went to the restroom and came back, he found her passed out. But it's like, how did you not see her passed out before you went to the restroom? You know, I also asked, what time did she go to sleep? He gave me about 2-3 different times. Every time I asked him to repeat the story to me, he probably changed it about 4 to 5 times.
So let's rewind. Back in 1990, Brinson stormed into a LA apartment expecting to rob a drug dealer. But instead of finding piles of cash or drugs, he found 4 men watching basketball. Most people would just cut their losses and bounce, but this man decided to go full execution mode, made him lie face down, and he shot each one in the back of the head. 4 murders. 1 cold-blooded psychopath. Locked away for life without parole, Brinson somehow managed to woo Stephanie Daniels from behind bars. She saw a reformed man, a man seeking redemption. They even got married and had conjugal visits. What could possibly go wrong? Well, it turns out everything. On November 13, 2024, during one of these visits, Brinson made a phone call. His wife had passed out. Paramedics tried to revive her, but it was too late. At one point, they thought it was a natural thing, but they realized the cause of death was strangulation. The coroner confirmed it months later. In that time, the prison system tried to sweep this under the rug. 4 months of silence before admitting the truth.
Like, why did it take 4 months for them to finally come up with strangulation? I mean, 4 months seems an awfully long time to come up with something other than passed out, something as serious as strangulation.
I honestly think they were trying to sweep it under. You know, it was a little short after, you know, we had help from a forensic person, and when he seen the body, he said there was evidence of abuse. So to do a private autopsy. So I really do think the prison was trying to go around it, and they found out that we were doing a private autopsy, and they just decided to tell us.
A mass murderer did what most mass murderers do: kill again. And the question that got everyone's blood boiling: why in the world was a man with 4 murder convictions allowed private, unsupervised time with his wife? Are we just handing out conjugal visits to every serial killer right now? California's got a lot of explaining to do. And the sad part is not just Brinson. Earlier in the same year, another woman, Tanya Thomas, was killed during a conjugal visit at the exact same prison. I'm not making this up.
Another woman was also murdered during a visit with her husband at the same prison a few months before that. Both deadly incidents taking place at the Mule Creek State Prison.
Tanya Vanessa Corpus Thomas, she was 47 years old.
The Amador County District Attorney tells KCRA3 investigates Thomas's husband, 48-year-old Anthony Curry, is charged with her murder.
Oh, it hit my gut.
He's accused of strangling Thomas during a conjugal visit at Mule Creek State Prison.
I'm not against conjugal visits. However, you know, there's already 2 murders at Mule Creek. What can be done to prevent this from happening again? Maybe put more prison guards out, to do more safety checks, to anything to save another life.
Anthony Curry, a man serving life for attempted murder and carjacking with a firearm enhancement stemming from a brutal 1999 incident where he shot his then 19-year-old girlfriend in the back of the head, leaving her permanently blind and partially paralyzed, who allegedly killed his partner. 2 women dead, both lured to their deaths through a system meant to foster family connections. What's even more messed up is that David Brinson had attempted to delete himself just months before strangling his wife. Yet somehow the state decided, sure, let's just give this dude some quality time with his spouse. Clearly, we're not doing background checks on common sense anymore. This is the system that's supposed to keep us safe, the one that's supposed to draw the hard line between justice and privilege. Yet when you hand out conjugal visits to a man that executed 4 people in cold blood, you're practically begging for a disaster. Maybe it's time to rethink what qualifies as good behavior when it comes to giving violent killers private time with their loved ones. We are playing with fire here and pretending that it's just going to be another day in the office. Mule Creek State Prison has shown us how reckless and dangerous a flawed system can be. The tragedy here isn't just about 1 or 2 lives lost, but it's about a complete breakdown of accountability and common sense in our justice system. This isn't just one rogue decision. This is a systematic failure. A place designed to protect the public and uphold justice has instead become a breeding ground for further violence. People need to be held accountable here. From the warden who signed off on these visits to the policymakers who allow these killers to play house, someone needs to answer for why innocent people are being put at risk. Every level of this system needs to be reevaluated and scrutinized. It's time to stop pretending that good intentions are enough when consequences are deadly. The fallout from this disaster has been nothing short of brutal. Families are left shattered. They're demanding answers, and rightfully so. Imagine getting that phone call that your mother, your grandmother, dead in some place they were supposed to keep her safe. How did a man with no chance of parole get granted private family time? Why wasn't his past that was littered with cold blood executions considered? The state of California is drowning in a lot of backlash, and I think rightfully so. There's been calls for policy overhauls and demanding for someone to finally take accountability for this colossal failure. The prison experts are all lining up to say the same thing. This should have never happened. Conjugal visits were supposed to humanize inmates and give them a sense of connection, not turn into death traps for the people they claim to love. There's a tragic irony in trying to offer redemption to someone that probably never deserved it. When a visitor leaves in a body bag instead of a hug, it's time to throw the entire concept back on the drawing board. No one deserves to die because we're too focused on giving killers a love story behind bars. The system is broken when it bends over backwards to the system is broken when the system is broken when it bends over backwards to give convicted killers human connection while ignoring basic safety. Rehabilitation is important, and America's prisons and jails are overcrowded, and helping inmates change their lives can help improve society. But there's got to be a line. People who commit the worst of crimes, the cold blood mass murderer, should not be given the same privileges as those working to earn a second chance. You can't blame the victims for trusting the system, but you can absolutely blame the system for allowing killers to play house. Letting murderers behind bars pretend that everything is normal is just setting up innocent people to die. So the big question is whether California and the other states will finally wake up. Maybe it's time to stop worrying about giving killers a love life and focus on protecting the people that can still do harm. Love is great, unless it's a death sentence. Let's stop playing Russian roulette with conjugal visits. Enough is enough. But let me know what you guys think about this story in the comments below. Thank you for taking time to watch this video, and I'll see you guys in the next video.
All right, so hopefully you guys got a better understanding of what the battle is. There's a battle between allowing conjugal visits to prisoners, and then there's safety concerns. But then we have people that could potentially turn into booty warriors like Felice Johnson, right? When they go out on the street, they could be chasing after a man's butt. And we don't want that, right? We want them to be rehabilitated. So give me a bunch of ones if you think that we should allow conjugal visits to prisoners in both the federal and state prison systems to help rehabilitate them. Or give me a bunch of twos if you think it's okay to continue on with this prison culture of guys like Felice chasing around man's butt. I don't know. I think it's kind of unhealthy. They could probably get AIDS, a lot of stuff like that. Let me look in the comments here. What do you guys think in the comments? Let's take a look here. Kurt Bronson says he's disabled from epilepsy, and that could trigger a seizure in jail. I guess having someone chasing your man's butt could probably trigger a seizure. That's probably true. That's kind of dangerous. Let's see what else. Yeah, Kurt Bronson says that it looks like that Felice was complaining about getting out of jail. I think he probably liked jail because he could get more man's butt because he was conditioned over time to think that that was a great thing, right? Give me a bunch of ones if you agree. Now, Johnny Cash says, I think the dude was bi and didn't know it till he was in prison. That could be. I mean, that's what you hear with the public school teachers, right? They always tell the little kindergartners that you're probably really gay or you're probably really bi. So join our Rainbow Flag Kids Club and we'll teach you that you really are. And of course, in the old days, they used to call that child grooming. But I guess in the California public school system, that's just considered to be normal and coming out of the closet. I don't know. What do you guys think? Put it in the comments if you think that all little kindergartners, like the National Education Association and a lot of their teachers believe, that all little kids are probably really just bi, like Felice Johnson, or gay, right? Because that's what we hear about going on right now in the public school system, which is why, of course, I homeschool my kids, but that's neither here nor there. I'm not here to talk about what I do. What do you guys think? Let's see. Joseph Pisculi says, I believe what this man is saying. Well, yeah, I believe what he's saying too. He seems like a dangerous guy. Probably another reason to conceal carry everywhere you go. Oops. But if you live in California, you might not be able to do that. Maybe leave California as soon as you can. What do you guys think? Let's see here. Kurt Bronson says he has a video of officers fist bumping while standing over his body. Well, that's horrific. And that really, really makes me angry. And Kurt, I didn't know that. I'd love to have you on as a guest to talk about the injustices of the prison system and ways that we can reform the prison system itself so people aren't causing harm and chasing man's butt and all that stuff. It's just a terrible thing. Give me a bunch of ones if you guys agree that it's a terrible thing that you've already been punished to spend time in prison, and now you got to worry about someone chasing your butt. What do you guys think? I want to know what you guys have to say. Let me see here. What else? I just want to look at these other comments, and then we're gonna close it out because I have so much work to do today, guys. Now, again, I won't be going live tonight because I have to take my son to judo. So I'm hoping that you guys got something out of the show today. I always try to be fair and balanced and try to look at both points of view. I don't want to just put my beliefs on anyone because I'm a lawyer and I need to know how to argue both sides, right? So, but I definitely don't go both ways, if you get my drift. So let's see here. Joseph says, let me see if I can read some more comments here. Jody Shiloh, thanks for coming. Wanda Mise, thank you for coming as well. And then Pro Se America DLZ, good seeing you, brother. Too bad we didn't get more people because I think Felice Johnson's story needs to be told. So guys, please make sure to share this video with all your friends and family members. Try to do it right around like Thanksgiving and Christmas and just pass the phone around the table so they can understand what it's like to suffer in prison while they're enjoying a wonderful time together. And maybe they'll be more inclined to support my idea of making conjugal visits a civil right. What do you guys think? Mr. Osgood, thank you for joining me today, guys. All you guys are the best. Now, Kurt Bronson, with respect to the public school system and the public school teachers with the Rainbow Flag Mafia, forcing like drag queen story hour and trying to put pornographic books in the libraries at the schools, he's saying that sounds like the government is grooming the younger generations. Well, that's what we used to call it, but now they call it coming out. So if you get the blue-haired mafia and put them in charge of the public schools, they get to decide what the agenda is, right? And I think that's why so many parents have fled California and they're trying to move to states where they can't have some leftist, communist, Marxist public school teacher trying to brainwash their kids into thinking that they need to come out of the closet. What do you guys think? But in any event, I had a really great time with you guys today, and I'm hoping that I can come on soon. Make sure to hit that like and subscribe button, like Kurt Bronson says, and let's try to make America a better place. Always try to homeschool your kids if possible. Homestead, collect your own rainwater, grow your own food, get off of the government indoctrination, and get into good old-fashioned taking care of your friends and family and understanding that all your rights come from an all-powerful creator, not the state, and that because of that, the state can't take your rights away. So anyways, with that being said, God bless everybody. Make sure to like and subscribe. Make sure to save, double tap that screen, because we never know. We never know when the thought police are going to take down this channel. God bless all you guys. Semper Fidelis.